Today we're going to talk mainly about pins, because as everybody knows, pins and needles, needles and pins, a happy chess player is a chess player who wins, right? You've said that a lot, don't you? No? Okay. Now, raise your hand. What are the two kinds of pins? If only Arjun knew. Arjun.
A relative pin and a...
Is a relative pin like when you're playing your dad and he's your relative? No. And what's the other one? What? Absolute pin, right. So if you're playing your mom or dad or brother or sister, that's a relative pin. If you're playing chess after the chess club closes, it's sub-zero. That's an absolute pin. You guys got that?
Yeah.
No? Okay. You did? One person got it because they're smiling. Everybody else is like, what? Okay. And actually, I'm going to show you two games where there's absolute and relative pins. And we're going to talk about why those are good. Okay. First game is a Nimzo-Indian. Also, the second game is a Nimzo-Indian. Okay. This position, let's pretend white played pawn to e4, because that's a good move, right? Now, what move would black play? Highly recommended by me. Yeah? Knight takes e4. So do you think grandmasters play e4 giving their pawn away? No. Well, maybe some of them. Okay, so white plays knight c3, and now white's going to play e4 because the knight's protecting the pawn. Now black makes a move which is very common in openings. It's called a pin. And about 85% of the time, bishops pin knights, right? Yeah, usually, and knights don't pin anything because they can't. What move could black make where he's pinning a knight? Yes. Bishop b4. Okay, now the knight can't move. I can prove it. If I move the knight, the computer's going to put it back. Look at it. Look at the computer being all mean. Okay, I can't move it because I'll be in check. Now, the last move white made was in preparation of e4. Remember, the knight was defending the pawn? Well, the knight can't move, so we still take it. And I want to take your knight, but the computer won't let me. Okay? So now, when I'm white in this position, I like playing queen here. That way I protect my knight, and I prepare to play e4. Now, if we go back a move, when you move your pawns in the opening, your d-pawn is protected by your queen. Your e-pawn's not protected. So when I played queen to c2, my d-pawn's not protected anymore. So what did black do to attack my pawn? How did I stop him? What did he do? Arjun. Knight c6. Not only that, I've lost to knight c6 a lot. I better learn how to play against that. That's not what this guy did, but that is a good move. Knight c6 is a common move attacking the pawn. My opponent played c5, also attacking my pawn, so I took. Okay, now I played a game here last year where my opponent took back. Now, I told you there's two kinds of pins, absolute and relative. Maybe Arjun told us. There's a third kind of pin called a pseudo pin. That's a pin that doesn't work. So it looks like it's a pin. It smells like it's a pin. It tastes like a pin, but it doesn't work. Okay? So then pins don't work. White could play this pin. I mean, I thought I could. Is that an absolute pin or a relative pin? It's relative because the knight could move, and then you take the queen. If the computer wouldn't let me move the knight, that would be an absolute pin because it would be illegal. Absolute pin means it's absolutely illegal to move the piece. A relative pin means you could move it, but don't move it. So this relative pin doesn't work because there's a trick. Don't sit so close, then you won't see so well. Okay, and black has an amazing trick here that nobody could figure out, including me, so I can't show you. Oh, wait a minute, I can figure it out. Okay, and that trick is we want to move this knight with check. How can this knight check the white king? The answer is it can't. But if it could check, then black's queen could take the bishop. You see the queen could take the bishop? So what move can black play that puts white in check? Then he can put white in check again. Yeah.
Bishop takes F2 check.
Bishop F2 check is a good move. White says thank you for the free bishop. Now black puts white in check again. White gets out of check. And then black takes the bishop. And not only can white not castle, because white moved his king twice, but white lost a pawn. He lost his F pawn. It's not there anymore.
So that means he fails.
Well, yeah, that would be bad. So actually, I was white in this game, but I didn't do that. I played knight F3. And now, when my opponent castled, then I played bishop here. If they play for the same trick I just showed you, how come it doesn't work anymore? Why not, Arjun?
Because the bishop is defended.
The bishop's defended by the knight, so queen takes would be terrible. I mean, it'd be good for me, because I win a queen. Okay, so my opponent didn't give up his queen. He unpinned his knight, because his knight was pinned. Now, where did I move my bishop? Right, nowhere, because I can't move it. So I played E3, and now I can move it. Yay. And he attacked my bishop, so I let him take my bishop, right? No, I moved it away. Now, where did he move his bishop? Nowhere. So he played here, and then he moved his bishop somewhere. And I castled. Okay, and we got this position. And then today I wanted to talk about pins, and this is another tactic, and it's called overworked, overloaded, removing the defender. It's called all those things. Yes?
It's because one piece is defending too many things.
One piece is doing too much work. In this instance, it's this bishop, the one that keeps changing color. It's doing too much work, so it's changing color a lot. Okay, the bishop is protecting the pawn, and the bishop is protecting the knight. So if I take the knight or I take the pawn, his bishop will capture me. But when I took the knight, the person who had the black pieces was like, wait a minute, if I take with the bishop, now my bishop's not protecting my pawn anymore. So yummy, 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 right? And then if you take my rook, that would be crazy because I would take your queen. So did my opponent take with the bishop, giving up his pawn, or did he take with the pawn, giving up nothing? Took with the pawn. Doesn't want to give up his pawn. Now, his king's a little funny, right? There's nothing in front of his king. If only I could put a queen and a rook there, that would be pretty good. Right, Ben? Yeah. So I played knight to e4, attacking his pawn. How many white pieces are attacking the d6 pawn? Yes. Three. My two rooks and my knight. How many black pieces are defending the pawn? Arjun. Two. So I win. Yay. No, it's his move. Okay. So he can't defend his pawn, so he counterattacked. And in fact, the trick that I just showed you, overworked, overloaded, removing the defender, he did that to me. He was higher rated than me. So he attacked my queen. You see how he's attacking my queen? Okay. And he's attacking my knight. So I moved my queen, and I saved my knight. Hooray! Now my queen is overworked. What two things that black is attacking is my queen defending? Black is attacking two things, and my queen is defending them both. In the white shirt. Yeah.
The pawn.
You're not in the white shirt, are you? He's like, yeah. Yeah.
The pawn on A2 and the pawn on A2 and the rook on E4.
That would be a knight, but it is on e4. Yeah. Okay, so he took one of them, then he took the other one, and then I cried. So he took my knight, obviously I took back, and then he took my free pawn. Is that where you're supposed to put your knight, over in the corner? That's the most active? No, that knight's not doing anything. Now I can play over here, and his knight has to watch from the sidelines. Okay, so I'm down a pawn, but his knight is silly. So I put my knight in the center. Now I'm threatening a fork where my knight attacks two of his pieces. What would that move be? What move could I make with white that forks two of his pieces? Yeah.
Knight to E6.
Knight e6 is correct. It attacks two of his pieces. Also correct is, Arjun.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was thinking Arby's. I'm a vegetarian. You. Knight to c6, attacking these two pieces. Now, both of those moves are good, but my opponent only thought one of them was good. So he lost. He could stop both of them by playing queen to d7, defending everything. But he didn't see knight to e6. He saw knight to c6. So he played knight b4, and he defended c6. Also, his knight's not silly in the corner anymore. Then I played the other fork, as we pointed out in class. He played the only move to save his queen and his rook. What's that? Yeah? Pawn takes knight. Now I made a move he didn't see. Okay, he thought I was going to take his pawn. Right? But as Arjun, who has to go to the bathroom, will point out, Queen G6 check. He didn't see that. Now if we go back two moves, this is actually quite funny. His pawn is overworked, overloaded, removing the guard. And it's not defending a knight or a bishop or a rook or a queen. It's defending a square. And you're like, what does that mean? If you want to go to a square and that would win for you, your opponent has to protect that square. In this instance, I'd like to go to this square, although his pawn will take me and I'll cry. So by removing his pawn, now I can go to that square and his king's in trouble. Okay, now if you kids were playing, the game would end like this, and then both of you would start laughing. For some, no, I'm not there. Then I would start laughing. For some reason, when kids do perpetual checks, they start laughing. Okay, you guys have an interesting sense of humor. Okay, so perpetual check is pretty boring actually, so I wouldn't laugh. But anyway, so what I did was instead of perpetual check and a draw, I decided winning was better. So if you're taking notes, winning better than drawing. Okay, and if you want to beat somebody, normally having lots of pieces would be good. Now there's a game you've never heard of called Bug House. No, less complaining than I expected. Okay, you guys are quieter than usual. Okay, and in Bug House, you see positions like this all the time. One side sacrifices material, the other side's king is open, and then you start putting pieces near the other guy's king, right? Then you win. Well, we're not playing Bug House, so I have to use the pieces that I have. I can't be getting pieces from my partner. These are the pieces I have that aren't attacking him yet. So I played bishop to g4 because I want to take this pawn. And then his king would be in trouble. For example, if he makes a silly move and I take his pawn and he makes a silly move, then I play checkmate. Checkmate's good because I win. Well, he didn't want me to play bishop takes pawn, so he played queen d7 protecting his pawn. Makes sense? I mean, instead of a5. Okay. And now I wanted to put a rook on the h line. Wouldn't that be good if my rook was on the h line? Yeah. That'd be mate. But I can't put a rook on the h line. So I played bishop f5, threatening mate, right? Mm-hmm. He played the obvious move. And then I played rook here to put my rook on the h line. Again, if it was Bug House, I'd be putting pieces near his king, and he would be putting pieces in front of his king, but this is real life. It's not Bug House. So how do you stop rook h4 checkmate? Because getting checkmated is bad. If you're taking notes, getting checkmated bad. Yes? That's what he played, and I said thank you. And then he played pawn to f5, which was your idea. And now this isn't checkmate because he takes it. So I started crying. Now, so I played my other rook up here. Is that what I did? Yeah. And now I'm going to play checkmate. Okay, now after the game, I showed him the best move here, and he was confused. He's like, huh? He played the obvious move, not the best move. The best move is rook to c7. And the reason is, when I checkmate him, looks like checkmate, right? It's not checkmate because his rook defends his queen. That's why rook c7 is the best move. Now I play queen takes pawn, attacking his rook and his knight. Which one's worth more? The rook, so he'll save his rook somehow. And now, probably white should win because I have 6 pawns and he has 3. And when I was in school, 6 was more than 3. Okay, that's what he should have done, and he would have lost, but it would have taken a long time. Instead, he prevented me from going to h4 by playing queen to d8. And now his queen and bishop defend h4. Now, if you remember earlier in the lecture, about 2 minutes ago, I said a rook on the h file is mate. But thus far, I've only tried to go to h4. What about h3, h5, h6, h7? Those are mate too, right? So where did I put my rook so I can go to another square on the h file? Arjun? Rook f3 to play rook h3 with mate. And now he blocked my rook, the one that can go here, by playing f4. So now if I go here, he can just block. Okay, and now I played the ultimate removing the defender overworked. The queen and the bishop are defending h4. What other pawn or piece are the queen and bishop defending that I'm attacking? Yes. Right, and you can't go to both at the same time because of the laws of physics. So I played rook takes d6, shocking the audience. You shocked yet? Now, I'm attacking his queen, and he can't take my rook because I'll play rook h3 checkmate. For example, bishop takes rook, rook h3. See how that worked out well for me? Okay, Arjun has a question.
That was mate.
Yeah, it was mate soon. Okay, now my opponent played bishop to h4. And most of you would take the queen. Not a good move, because I've sacrificed a lot of pieces. I didn't sacrifice them to win his queen. Why did I sacrifice them? To checkmate my opponent. If I take his queen and he takes my rook, he's still ahead in material. I've given a lot of pieces away. Luckily, I have checkmate. I have an easy checkmate and a hard checkmate. Which one did I play? No, I didn't see the easy one. I guess it wasn't easy. The easy one is check, 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 check. It's pretty easy because he only has one legal move. If I had seen that, I would have done that, but I didn't see that. So instead, I played the hard checkmate. Queen h5, and then rook takes pawn. Now all 3 of my pieces are checkmating him. And I played here, and now he gave up. But he has to go here. And now I have 2 different checkmates in 2 moves. Can somebody find checkmate in 2 moves? You in the back. Rook to d4, black has 1 legal move, and it's not with his king, because the king can't move anywhere. And then mate. I wasn't going to do that one. I was going to play queen d6 check, and then mate. So instead of getting checkmated, he gave up. It's good that his pieces were on the side of the board, right? Well, good for me. So that game had a lot of pins, and a lot of double attacks, and a lot of removing the defender, and it had a lot of his king having nothing in front of it and my king being safe. Had a lot of that too. So anybody know what Kit Kat is? It's candy. Anybody heard of it? What's Kit Kat backwards? Read it backwards in your mind. Yeah, but you already knew that. You. Right, so you got to eat Kit Kat to be better at chess, or go to Froyo. Those are your two options. Okay, now the next game is very similar because it was the same opening. Okay, and in this game, my opponent played a funny move. He played Queen C7, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, and we sort of continued the same way. And here my opponent did something crazy, which is good because I was playing him. Okay, and this is very similar to the other game I showed you. Now we're going to vote because voting's fun. Now this game was played before everybody was born. We were the only two people on Earth, I think. It was a long time ago, this game. Okay, that's why we didn't play so well. We didn't have any other games to look at. All right, and in this game, my opponent had a choice. He could castle kingside or queenside. Let's vote. Who says castle kingside is the right move? Who says castle queenside? Who says Pat Buchanan? No? Nobody votes for Buchanan? Not even by accident? You do? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, out of about 20 of you, 4 of you voted. That sounds like more than voted in most elections in America, so good job. So I got to tell you a story. When this game was being played in Amsterdam in 1989, they had a vote to ban cars from Amsterdam. And what country is Amsterdam in? That'll kill 45 minutes. You?
Amsterdam.
Well, that killed 1 minute. You?
Sweden.
Sweden? That was a country at least. You? Switzerland, also a country. You guys are naming countries. Good. The Netherlands, very good. Okay, and they voted no cars in Amsterdam. They voted that way. And you know what? Ever since that vote, there's been cars in Amsterdam. You know why? They have a rule in the Netherlands: a vote doesn't count unless you get a certain percentage of people voting. So like if 1 million people can vote and 100 people vote, that vote doesn't count. Okay, and they didn't get enough people to vote. About 14% of people voted. They voted to get rid of cars, but not enough people voted, so they still have cars. Okay, they have a lot of canals there. You've been to Amsterdam, right, everybody, 3 or 4 times? No? Oh, what?
I've been there.
You were there, but you thought it was in Amsterdam? What? Okay, so my opponent, he castled queenside. Okay, and I could have a good joke about you would only castle queenside being in Amsterdam, but it's a kids class, so I can't make that joke. Okay, so he castled queenside, and that's really bad. However, it's also really good. You know why it's really good?
Why?
Because I was playing him. So it's good for me. Okay, so when you castle, you want your king to be safe. And I specifically asked Dustin Hoffman many times, and he said it was not safe. Right? You hear me talking, Arjun?
Yeah.
Okay, so he castled queenside, but he already moved all the pawns in front of his king. If he had castled kingside, the position would be equal. Now actually the reason he castled queenside is funny. He thought I was a really bad player, he was right, and he thought he's going to crush me, so he wants the game to be crazy. That way I would make a lot of blunders. Although since I checkmated him in 10 moves, that didn't happen. Okay, now we castled opposite sides, and I'm still pinning him. Which black piece is pinned? There's still pins in the back. This knight is pinned. Although last move, the king was protecting the bishop, so it wasn't pinned. Okay, now we go for checkmate, b4. He plays h6, and I didn't see pawn takes bishop, did I? No, wait, I did see it. I played here. Why did I play bishop f4? What am I attacking? The pawn on h6 or the pawn on h2? What's that? h6. You. The pawn on d6, which is actually being attacked. Right. In fact, if you remember last game, which was like 15 minutes ago, it was the same pawn I was attacking. Remember I had 2 rooks here, and I played knight there attacking the pawn? Okay. He played pawn to e5, but I saw it. Then he played pawn to g5, and we started checkmating each other, except I was first. So I played a5, and then I played c5. And now all the pawns in front of his king are going away. then his king will have no protection. And he was like, I don't want to get checkmated, so I'm going to checkmate him. And I forked his bishop and queen, and he took my knight, and I took all the way over here. And then there's another pin. By the way, when I play you kids after class or before class or during class, sometimes I pin your pieces and you guys don't do anything about it, and then I take your queen and your king and your queen and your other king. Okay? When you're pinned and you can't move something, you're supposed to notice that based on all the lectures you've seen about pins. My opponent attacked my knight with his pawn, right? And if you move the knight away, you will be very unhappy. Unless you're black, then you'll be really happy, because then your queen's going to take his king, his queen. That knight can't move. What kind of pin is this?
Relative.
Relative. Did I move my knight and lose my queen?
No.
No. Okay, so I put him in check. Now we're going to see who's good at math other than me. How many legal moves, possible, how many possible moves does black have? Let's vote. I'll give you guys numbers and you raise your hand when you have the right number. Who says black has 0 legal moves? That would be checkmate. Who says black has 1 legal move? Okay, 1. See, that's why parents aren't allowed in here. Who says black has 2 legal moves? Who says black has 3 legal moves? Who says 4? Okay, most people say 3, so we'll go with them, right? Black can play queen b8, very suspicious. Knight b8, which was actually played in the game. And the most interesting move, king b7. King b7 is the most interesting because now white has a decoy that wins a queen. But if you don't see it, you'd probably play king b7. Right, Ben?
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, king b7, what's wrong with that? Okay, now who knows what a skewer is? If you've been to a Greek restaurant or Middle Eastern, you have a good idea. Yeah? No? It's a pin, but it's the other way around. Yeah, you're attacking the big piece, then the littler piece. So you have the skewer where you're attacking all these pieces. Probably black should take that rook, yeah?
No.
Well, if you don't, I'm going to play rook takes queen. So, okay, then we have a fork, and we win a queen. My opponent saw that, so he didn't do that. He played knight to b8. What did he do to his own knight? He pinned his own knight, but he had to because I win his queen. Who's the quietest? Okay, now, where did I move my knight? Because my knight's attacked. Where did I move it?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
So I just lost my knight for nothing and I gave up and I cried?
No.
Arjun, did I cry here?
No.
Now, what did I do? I unpinned my knight. When somebody pins you, you should try not to be pinned. Well, I can't put anything between my queen and my knight. See this tiny space right here? I can't put anything there. So what did I do? Queen f5's check. Now my knight's not pinned anymore, right? Okay, so here my opponent did something you'll never do your whole life.
You gave up.
He gave up, right? Then he said, well, he's losing here. He's going to lose his queen or get checkmated. But also his rook's very active. No, I'm kidding. His rook just stayed in the corner the whole game. He said something funny after the game. What did he say? Did he say, well played, sir?
Yes.
No, he didn't do that. No. He said, how old are you? And I told him how old I was, and then he was really mad. Why was he mad?
Because you were younger than him.
Because I was younger than him. He didn't want to lose to somebody younger than him. He didn't like that. And he's still older than me. Okay, and the funny thing is, he played Vichy Anand for the World Championship 2 years ago. And I lectured you guys in the basement. And somehow I won that game. That was your favorite player who lost to Vichy Anand in World Championship match 2 years ago. You're like, who's Anand? What? Who's heard of Anand, the world champion 5 times? You're like, who are the 5 guys that he beat? You never heard of those guys.
I've heard of it a million times.
Yeah, what's his name? Anand, you mean? What? Right, but who did he beat this game? I mean, who was this guy? Boris?
Spassky?
Boris Spassky? You're ahead of your time. Boris Gelfand, your favorite player. Actually, their match ended in a draw. Then they had a blitz chess, rapid, and then a non-1. Okay. Also, if you were here 3 years ago, Boris Gelfand gave a lecture at this club because he has family in St. Louis, even though he's from Belarus and Israel. Still has family everywhere. St. Paul, Minnesota. Yeah. Okay. So here, if he goes here, we have the same winning of the queen. And I'll show you a funny checkmate. If he blocks with a knight, I would have played bishop takes e5. Knight takes e5 is illegal because all of his knights are pinned, right? And they're all absolute pins. So let's say he takes my bishop. What's the best move for white? Highly recommended by me. Like if you go to college application and you show them this position on your app, say I recommended it. Yes?
Queen d7 checkmate.
Queen d7 checkmate with advantage. Right. Because the knight is still pinned and the queen and rook form a battery. I'm not sure that his rooks did a good job this game. I think my rooks did a better job, right? Also, my king has all the pawns in front of it. His king, not so much, right? Sort of like the last game. Very similar games. Okay. Also, I was white in both games. Okay. And even though that game was played in 1989, I remember it because I'm lucky, right? And for some reason, none of you kids remember games you played in 1989. Yesterday, I was actually, I did something interesting. I was on the internet, and somebody put a link to Bobby Fischer's 11 wins in the U.S. Championship, 1963 to 1964. He played 11 games, and he got 11. That's a good score, right? So I played over all 11 games yesterday in my head, and I memorized all of them, right? No. I memorized, 1 or 2 moves. Yeah. And actually, that tournament was pretty strong. I guess the U.S. Championship should be strong. But yeah, that was a pretty strong tournament. So 11 out of 11 is pretty good. So when you guys get 11 out of 11 in the U.S. Championship, when you're older, and they ask you, how did you do it? Just say, this lecture taught you everything. Remember that, right? And then show them this game. Huh? I forgot. I don't remember. What? Okay, now for my 2 favorite words in chess class.
Class dismissed.
Very good. There's somebody who's been to my classes.